I cannot forgive my husband's parents. More than 20 years have passed, but I still feel hurt and upset. I can't forget what happened. When I moved to another country, I didn't know much about my husband's parents. If I had known what I was going to face, I would have asked for a divorce before I left. I was young, only 20, and I didn't understand how life worked. I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I just accepted everything. My husband didn't help me. He was afraid of his father and always listened to him. I had to deal with everything on my own. I felt very lonely, and I cried a lot, holding my baby in my arms. Before we moved, we lived with my parents. At first, everything felt okay, but it was still hard for me to think about leaving. I knew that I would have to leave one day, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. We had to leave earlier than we planned. I said goodbye to my home, my family, and most of all, to my dear mother. She was everything to me. I had never been far from her before. Saying goodbye to her was like a part of me was being torn away. I was 20, so young, and I didn't know what I was going to do in a new country far from everything I knew. I was so sad that I thought I might not survive the sadness. The move was very hard on me, and I became sick. My heart ached for a long time. I couldn't stop thinking about how much I missed my home and my mother. My husband's parents didn't help me at all. They didn't care about how I felt. I was all alone. No one gave me the support I needed. I had to gather all my strength for my son and for my mother, who was also very sad about the distance. I spent months going to doctors because I felt so weak and tired. I tried to stay strong, but it was hard. Slowly, I started to work, but nothing was easy. I had to learn how to live in a new country where I didn't understand the language. At first, it was so difficult to communicate, but I worked hard. Over time, I learned new skills, and I found a good job. I began to earn money, and I started to feel better. I felt proud of myself because I was reaching my goals. My dream was to buy a house. I worked hard to make that dream come true. My husband, on the other hand, could not learn the language. He still struggles with it, even today. For a long time he didn't have a job, and I had to support our whole family. I always stood by him. I worked, I took care of him, and I supported him emotionally. But one day, everything changed. My mother-in-law started saying things that hurt me. She said she never had a daughter, but she always wanted one. She looked at me and said that all the other women had their mothers with them, but I didn't. She seemed to think I should be more like them. Now I wonder, what do they want from me? Do they want love? Do they want kindness? I can't give them that anymore. I don't feel that way about them. I only treat them with respect. I say happy holidays, and I try not to make them angry, but that's all. My mother passed away 10 years ago, and I feel sad every day because I didn't visit her as much as I should have. I remember how my mother-in-law told me I shouldn't call my mom more than once a month because it was too expensive. It made me feel so bad. I only called my mom once, told her everything was fine, and then hung up. I did not want to make anyone upset. Now, after all these years, I understand what really happened. I realize my husband's parents didn't like me. They didn't care about me. I even wanted to think about my father-in-law. He did something that I will never forget. One night, he kicked me out of the house with my baby. I was afraid of my husband, who was drunk and angry. I needed to stay there with my son to be safe, but my father-in-law didn't care. He told me I could go back to my home, but I couldn't take my son with me. That was too much for me. Of course, I chose to stay with my son. He was my priority, and I would never leave him behind. It feels like this happened a long time ago, but even now, when I think about it, I still feel pain. I still cry. Why was I so weak back then? Why couldn't I stand up for myself? Why do I still speak to them like nothing ever happened? It hurts me to be kind to them now. I can't pretend anymore. I can't wear this mask of happiness when inside I feel broken. I am sorry for writing this in such a confused way. It's hard to think about everything that happened, but I still need to figure out how to keep talking to them. I know I will never forget the pain, but I hope one day I can heal from it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.